myself situated here. And you're listening to Rico and Pearlo's House of NHL Hockey Takes Frolic. And today we're going to be talking about Matthew Knies. Of course, the big Raddysh move by the Toronto Maple Leafs. A lot of Leaf stuff today. Can't help it. I generally stay away from Leaf stuff because everybody talks about it in the land, but you can't help it when it comes up like this. And, of course, Byram. Byram looks like he's wanting $10 million a year. Got to look into, should he be getting that kind of money? You tell me in the comment section, boys and girls. That I think we'll talk about more, I'm sure. But those are the three big ones today. Matthew Knies has been all over the place. And I've originally thought that maybe Toronto was just throwing Matthew Knies out there to get some conversation going for some trades. Didn't make sense to me. But I'm going to try to find him now. I'll go into my profile here in the Twitter. See if I can find it. It was a great take. I'll find out who it is, but this fellow basically brought up okay, here it is. It's Sneaky Joe. Am I following him? Sneaky Joe. Oh, he's got tons of followers and he's not following anybody. But Shane Doan hates Chayka at Sneaky Joe Sports. Shane Doan hates Chayka. Shane Doan's son is Josh Doan. Josh Doan's good friend is Matthew Knies. Yes, Shane Doan. I don't know. Hate might be a strong word. I don't know if Shane Doan even is capable of hating anybody, but he dislikes him enough that he walked away from the organization as soon as they hired him. I don't know what happened in Arizona. Shane Doan was part of Arizona. Well, I do know one thing. He got released or let go or something like that. Shane Doan did by Chayka. And Shane Doan is about as honest of a person as you come. As they come. From everything I've heard about him, it's just not like him to. It's just not like him to really not like anybody. Just one sec. Sorry about that. I got a phone call. Yeah, he doesn't not like people very much. In fact, everybody loves Shane Doan. But he walked away, and it's true. His son is Josh Doan, and it's true that Matthew Knies is very close friends with Josh Doan. So it makes you wonder if maybe this was part of it. That changes things for me. I thought maybe they were just throwing it out there, trying to get some conversation going. Teams do this all the time. St. Louis did it with Thomas at the deadline, I believe. I said in my show that I thought it was quite likely that they would take Thomas off the market after the trade deadline, and they did. They got so maybe my original instinct is correct, and they're just throwing Matthew Knies out there to get the conversation going for moves and shake things up and get people talking. But that take really has me wondering. And Buffalo could be a good spot for him, for sure. Back with his buddy Shane Doan in Buffalo. Norris, Jordan, or Jay-Z in the chat says Norris Murka at a 20th overall. I mean, I think that's a risky venture. with Norris's injuries. Murtka, I'm not really super high on Murtka in the 20th. I don't know what they're going to get for Knies. I've heard Chicago Big is interested. What would that look like? You When you're looking at a guy like Knies, I'm going to share the screen here. Player cards. Let's take a look at Knies, shall we? Matthew Knies. So, I mean, last year, I don't look at his analytics from last year. Last year, that team had lost their heart. They blame Berube, but I don't think it's Berube, to tell you the honest truth. I actually predicted Toronto to miss the playoffs, and I figured a big part of that was going to be, I mean, Berube could be part of it. This team really rebels against anything other than they want to do. That's what it seems like to me. I talked about, I think I talked about the Hiller move. Yeah, Hiller last time we were on. But 18% offensive driving. However, he was well above 50% 2 years ago. And I think I'm going to throw those out from last year. That team just didn't have any heart. So I throw them out. 23 going on 24. Had great defensive analytics the last 2 years, or 2 years before last. Good goal scorer, not about a good playmaker. Like, you're looking at a potential top line left or right winger that's very physical, that skates well. You got to be getting a pretty good haul for him, I would have to imagine. Left or right. So I haven't really looked at like what they would get. Yes, Dorofeyev is absolutely fantastic. The only thing is he plays against a little lower competition. But Dorofeyev is absolutely fantastic. I just had somebody, like, people were putting it out there that Larkin for Dorofeyev. There's no way. There's no way. I think the Vegas will get it done at about $9 million per. That's going to be their first thing they're going to do. You got a guy that might be able to pot 40, has great defensive analytics, great three zone defensive player. Exactly what Vegas values in a player. They're not trading him for a 30-year-old Larkin who quite obviously doesn't really want to go anywhere but Minnesota. It's not happening. So, I mean, Buffalo does make sense. The only thing, of course, is they're trading him in the division, which leads me to the next thing, which would be Bowen Byram, who has said that he wants to be a number one. He's always wanted to be a number one. That's what he said right from the get-go, and he probably doesn't have it there with Dahlin. He wants to be the guy. I'm not sure. Like, last year was his kind of his outbreak year. He did have some injury problems, but he definitely struggled previous to last year with offensive play driving and defense. But last year, you can't say he knocked it out of the park. He played against just above average competition, which most defensemen, even Dahlin, did, because they do roll all their defensemen pretty well. they don't really, Ruff doesn't really match up line. So, but he had his best year for sure as a 24-year-old. Now the question is that uptick is that now the floor for what Bowen Byram is? He's always had incredible offensive ability. Like he has a great shot, great offensive skills in the offensive zone. It's where he has struggled in the past is he skates the puck out of the zone at the wrong times when players aren't ready. His outlet passes have a tendency to be not there. He over commits in the offensive zone. Hasn't been great at pinching, but and just overall hockey IQ has not been great. This year, he had an out coming for 1 year, and now he's wanting $10 million a year. Now, with the market out there, I imagine there will be teams out there, but I don't think that Toronto would be a good spot for him now that they signed Raddysh, and we'll get into that signing in a bit. It just doesn't really make sense. He would be their top. He would be their top lefty. That would be good. But I mean, if you get rid of Knies, if you lose Knies, straight across for Byram, you're taking on $3 extra million, or if you sign him for 10. And also Matthew Knies has said that he wants to go on a team that is competitive right now. You can make a case that Toronto may go that direction, depending on what they add this year. I mean, it was one horrible year, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's a rival. I think it's more likely if he were to go to Buffalo, you would see something to the effect of, because I think there's going to be a lot of teams out there looking for Knies. I do think the price will be high. He's young. He's a power forward. He's a power winger. Jordan mentioned Norris, I suppose, but it's not going to be Benson. I think he's better on LD too, and they're kind of stacked up there. But he can play right. I could see something like they're going to want Osland or Jack Quinn. They're going to want something like that. Jack Quinn, Osland, and a first-round pick or something like that. They're going to want something pretty significant in that deal. Jack Quinn, Osland, and a first. Maybe Mertka instead of the first, or that the price could get high for Knies. It's not very often you get players of his ilk, his size, ability, skating ability, offensive upside that come on the market. So I think Osland does. I don't know if they'd want another center. I know. You could push Tavares down, I guess, or you could play Tavares on the wing. But something like that, I could see it. Norris is his buddy. Just trying to remember how Knies played on the right side. That's the big thing. I thought I always, because Nylander always played on the right. Knies almost always played on the left. And he's a lefty. I could have swore he was always left. And that makes sense because he's a net driver. And on the right side, that's usually more of a playmaker's role when you have a righty on the left or like a one-timer guy. And Knies isn't that. Generally speaking, Knies isn't going to be one time in the puck. That would be my issue here for Buffalo, is that he probably is better off on the left side. Yeah, he always plays LW. I think he can play right wing, but I don't think he's as good on the right wing. And they've already got Benson. Benson and Josh Stone. Josh Stone can play right. What am I talking about? Yeah. Why would they play Josh Stone on the left? Because they don't have a lefty. Right. So, yeah. I'm not a big Jack Quinn guy. I don't mind putting Jack Quinn in that deal. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Quinn, Oslin, because Oslin is going to be either a center or a left W, and if you make that deal, he's probably expendable. I like him, and I think he'll do well in Toronto. He's a Swede. They like their Swedes in Toronto, especially with Sundin there. And a first-round pick. I mean, I think it's just tailor-made. That deal is tailor-made. Put Shane Doan on the right side, and yeah, I think they want to keep on banging that drum for Kulich up the middle. Maybe Kulich is part of that deal. I mean, there's lots of ways that you could go here. You could go lots of ways. So, I mean, I could look for other places that he may go, but honestly, that seems like the most likely. The only reason why they wouldn't do that deal is because it is a division rival. So they're going to want to feel like they're getting the better of the deal. If they got Quinn and Osland, you know, they need forward depth in Toronto. I think they're going to want a D-man though. So like Murtka could be instead of a first. I could see it. I think they'd want a D-man if possible. But Oslin would then go with Tavares and be like Quinn, Tavares, and I think Nylander's playing with Tavares. Stam playing with Nylander. So Quinn, Matthews, Cowan, Nylander, Tavares, Oslin, and you know Robertson. I think he's. I'm not a fan of Robertson. I'm not a fan of Robertson. They might keep him around, but he probably plays on the third line. Michelli can play both sides. I mean, they still got a lot of work to do with that lineup if they make a deal like this. That's for sure. But what's their cap space now? $18 million. Is that with Raddysh on there? That is with Raddysh on there. They still have $18 million. Who do they got to sign? Nobody much. So they would be getting cap space in that deal too. So they still got lots of moves they can make. I've heard Jenner to Toronto as a possibility. You know, yeah, they could still fill out their roster. Not too bad. Possibly still find a defenseman. I didn't add McKenna in there, although I'm not so sure he's going to be ready to play next year. So Cowan, Tavares, and Nylander. I think this works out for everybody. I think that works out for everybody. I'm going to see if I can send some people I've been arguing with this out to everybody. Let's see. We got somebody just said that I'm ignorant. We'll send a post out to him. Let's see. Notifications. Oh, wow. I got a lot of stuff I got to take a look at on my Twitter. Well, you're wrong, Ipster. He is excellent defensively. Pearlo, you're ignorant. Okay, at Rizzles Schmizzle. You guys want to have some fun? There we go. What's the other one? Hockey Snob. Yeah, Hockey Snob. Yeah, it just seems tailor-made to me that that's where he goes. Seems tailor-made to me. But we can look at some other teams. Why not? Chicago is a mix, but again, I didn't even see. Does Byram actually have trade protection? I didn't think he did. Is that just a suggestion he goes to somewhere where they... No, he has no trade protection. But he has to say that he would prefer to a contending team. So San Jose might be in there. Yeah, and that's the thing. Nobody wants to trade him without an extension. Yeah, he does have to sign somewhere. He is an RFA, so if a team trades for him, yeah, it makes it tough. I mean, one thing he can do is if a team trades for him that's not a contender, he can just ask for higher. I don't know how, you could ask for like 12 or 13 million or 14 million or something like that. And this is why I said all this no trade clause stuff is probably not a big deal. Like, oh, we got to do something about these no trade clauses. But here you go. You got Bowen Byram. He doesn't have a no trade clause. And he could easily just say, I don't want to go there. And then do you want to trade for him? So, like, players almost have their built in no trade clauses. They just got to whine and bitch. I don't know. San Jose almost made the playoffs last year. If I'm, I mean, it was in a very weak division. I think if they were in any other division, they probably would not been as close. Maybe the Metro, but not likely. But he does have an opportunity to make the playoffs there because, Seattle's probably still not going to be very good. Vancouver's going to be ass. Calgary's going to be worse. Anaheim should be better, you would think, or at least as good. What would that look like? I think, if I'm Buffalo and that is the deal that you're looking at, I don't know if they'll go for this. But if they decide to take Stenberg, which I don't think they will, because I'm pretty sure Stenberg's going to be telling his agent, I'm not really, him and his agent are going to probably go to San Jose and say, look, you got Will Smith there. He's your guy with Celebrini. My client wants to be a top line right winger. So I'm not sure that he would go there. But let's say they did. I would want William Eklund for his defensive ability and everything that he has. I would want Eklund in that deal. He would be the number one defenseman there. He would have his opportunity to be top LD, depending on the progression of Sam Dickinson, who played pretty well for his age last year, but is he really going to step up to that top LD role next year? Probably not. So he'd have a good opportunity there. William Eklund, maybe another piece, something like that. But I do really like Eklund. Now that would push Toffoli up there on the top LD. I don't know if I want to do that if I'm San Jose. I really love William Eklund. I still think there's so much more value to him than his offensive production shows that he is. And I think he has offensive upside. He's just that you win with guys like William Eklund. Like you win. Guys like William Eklund are players that are so valuable in the playoffs, and they don't really have. They got Wenberg there. He's getting older, but he's a fantastic defensive forward too. I think Macklin Celebrini will be more so. He certainly has the potential for that. Will Smith, no. And Chernyshov doesn't necessarily look like it either. Do I still have, I still have that up. Let's see what Chernyshov looks like. Oh yeah, his offensive ability is through the roof. Huh, where is he? CHE. Yeah, look at his offensive ability. It's insane. Against semi-lower competition, but yeah, his defensive analytics aren't good. But it's hard to tell with these young players because it takes a while for them to learn. But Eklund, it didn't. Eklund's naturally like that. So, I mean, San Jose is a possibility if he thinks they're ready to go. You got Celebrini there, you got Smith there. You know, they got a lot of good bones, and they almost made the playoffs last year. It's a warm climate. You get your top. You get to be a top line lefty. You know, that is a possibility. I heard talk about Philadelphia. Um, but I wonder where Byram would fit there. They got Sanheim there already. Sanheim is a very underrated defense. I'm not so sure he would be the number one there. He wouldn't be the number one next year there. And they still got Cam York. Like, I don't think that fits for him there. And what are you giving back? There's been lots of talk of Tippett, but I'm not sure why. Tippett can play on the left side pretty well. He's he is a righty too, but he can play on the left side pretty well. I know if you think that he's better on the right side, then yeah, I mean, I think Philly's going to look towards trading Konechny here eventually. They got to give Michkov that top RW soon or more tone. I think Konechny down the road might be a guy that they're looking at. Now, if I don't know why I can't remember off the top of my head. I know Tippett shoots right, and he's not a one-timer guy. You know, I could maybe see them looking to trade Tippett for an LW for like a more pure left winger, but I don't see them trading for a defenseman like where the heck are these guys? Are they coming or what? Let's see if Rico's here. Okay, hopefully Rico comes. But honestly, I think Buffalo is the best fit. I'm just looking at these basically because Buffalo is a division rival, and it's possible that I don't. Poor Winnipeg. I'm sure they would be in on Knies too, but it's probably not going to happen. St. Louis is kind of interesting, but they got. I don't think he's taking Broberg's spot, so that's a top LD. San Jose, Buffalo seems to be the two teams that make the most. Not New Jersey. Doubtful the New York Islanders. I mean, if the Rangers can convince them that they're going to turn into a team that is going to be a playoff contender real soon, they might be interested, but I don't think they're going to give them a better package than Buffalo. Uh, Pittsburgh, they're teetering on a rebuild right now. I don't think that fits. If Seattle can convince Byram to think that they're going to be good, but it's pretty unlikely. Utah doesn't really need defense right now, and they wouldn't really have much to offer. Those seem like the two teams to me for Byram. Tippett does play LW, does he? Yeah, if he's playing LW, I don't think they're moving Tippett. They love him there. So I don't know why I can't remember this today. I watched the games like crazy. I know when he was in Florida, he played RW. Yeah, Denver Barkey. I mean, I like the kid, but he's not. I don't think you're playing on top LW right now. This is like yeah, Dvorak, Tippett. Okay. How come that's not what the line was though before, right? Was it not? Was it Dvorak, Tippett, and Konechny that played on that line, or did maybe it was? So yeah, I think they keep that line together. I don't know. All this talk about the Tippett trade just doesn't make any sense to me. So there we go. We figured it out. Byram to San Jose. Yes, they need C. Maybe that's it. Yeah, they do need C. Uh, if they could package somebody for top line center, I imagine they would do that. I just don't know if Tippett is the guy you do there. Yeah, I mean that's the hard part about rebuilding like Philadelphia did. They're, that they didn't get that they high draft pick to get them the top center they were looking for. That's you're going to do Noah Cates, Tippett. Yeah, I saw. I don't Tippett and Ristolainen for Cousins. I think something else has to come back their way. Maybe not because. And is Cousins really a top C? Is that the guy you're pinning your hopes on for top C? They did have a huge spike last year, especially defensively. I never saw that coming. Play driving, but I mean, still, I wouldn't call him a top line center. I don't think I want to do that. I, I mean, I would rather have Zegers on than I'd rather have Zegers. I think if they were to get Cousins, he would be the second line center. Noah Cates, maybe, but that would give them their second line center. Which would be big for them. They do need that. Cousins, Forster, and Martone, and Zegers goes up with Tippett and Konechny. So we're like, maybe I like Ristolainen a lot. It's just he's been injured quite a bit. Then Ottawa's got to move Spence for sure. Then they're probably trying to work out a deal around Spence and Cousins or something like that. That would be a fair sized deal because honestly, do they need? I mean, they lose the right D, and they don't really have anybody to replace them. I suppose they could get. Oh, there was talk about them getting Carlson. They do have lots of cap space, but which brings us to the next thing that we were going to talk about is the next thing I was going to go into, of course, is the Raddysh deal. And yeah, we did. Yeah, Spence for Neighbors made sense. So if they did Cousins for, I don't think you're getting Tippett and Risto in that deal. Unless Ottawa adds somehow. But if they were to add something in that deal, Ottawa, I think Ottawa would have to add in that deal. Tippett, I mean, I know Tippett's a winger, but talent-wise, he's pretty close. Maybe Cousins and Zetterlund. Pinto moves up to the second line. And you got Tippett, Pinto, and Ridley Gregg. And then you don't, I mean, then you're trusting Stephen Halliday to step up into that third spot. Your defense would look really good. Oh yeah, neighbors. If they did do Spence for Neighbors, then it would be Kachuk, Stützle, Batherson, Neighbors, or sorry, Tippett, Cousins. Isn't Neighbors a left winger too? Oh, he can play both. I left side more than right side, but I think he's the kind of guy that can play equal. And Spence, oh, then they got to move. Like, there's so many moving parts in this deal. The Colton Parayko has been out there as a possibility to move. He wouldn't go to Ottawa. I mean, obviously he was going to move. They're going to trade him to Buffalo. But Spence would get a really good opportunity there. But if Neighbors moves, they're kind of scraping the barrel there. A lot of moving parts, man. I think there's just going to be a lot of movement this offseason. This is probably going to be one of the more exciting off seasons we've seen in a while. But oh, I forgot about Giroux. Giroux would be in there too. I don't know about Yakimchuk next year, man. Oh, maybe on the third pair. Yeah, it's possible. Not a bad looking lineup if they did it like that. I just St. Louis now is looking for an LW. Maybe they find that with Parayko. Interesting. I know St. Louis is a heavy analytics team and they would probably like Spence, but they also really like Neighbors a lot. So finally, I'll get into the Raddysh deal and I'll bring up Raddysh here. All right. So he was an extremely good top pair defenseman last year. Pretty average defensively. Did play very top competition. Of course, we know that was like his boom year at 29 years old, and people are kind of afraid of that. But truth be told, I mean, he's been getting better and better every year. Is he going to get as much offense as he did In Tampa, probably not. But overall, I don't see him falling off a cliff here either. I don't think it's a bad move. Right D's are hard to find. Dropping in point production to me is not. I mean, yeah, they don't have Kucherov. He doesn't have Kucherov feeding him saucers all game. But Nylander's not a bad passer, and they do have some offense there. He's got a booming shot. Most of his points are on the power play. His 5-on-5 points weren't the greatest, but overall, he played well defensively. He's also a really good playmaker as well. He's a late blooming defenseman. I think the most interesting part to me is what happens with it's not really that bad of an issue, though, defensively. Considering he played against top comp, he's about average. So for the offense he produces, that's fine. There's a lot worse players defensively than him. Oh, shoot. I didn't bring my charger. For sure. There's a lot worse players than him defensively out there. I don't think it's a terrible deal. What's he getting? 8? Eight times 7 is, I think, what the deal was. Oh, Yakimchuk. Yeah, Yakimchuk's terrible defensively. Yeah, he's got to get better. He could get better. I don't know, but he's not very good defensively. But down there, get his feet wet, see what he can do. I don't mind it. So, I mean, there's no doubt about Yakimchuk's offensive ability. No doubt about that. But yeah, he's got to fill out his game. I don't mind the deal. I just think John Carlson's going to Tampa Bay now. That's about as clear as day as you can get to me. And what Toronto's going to do after this, I think Toronto's going to be the biggest question mark. I think I might have him under the prospect side. Let's see. Yakimchuk card. Rico, what do you do here again? Draft. Prospect cards. It doesn't really tell you much. Just I forget what you got to do to get. Oh yeah, right. Draft year. Yeah, 98% chance of becoming an NHLer, 57% chance of becoming a star. Really blossomed this year on his DY2. So he looks like he's going to be a very good player. Could crush it next year. I'm not sure. Trading Spence to me makes sense if they think he, is quickly going to become a second line. He's a right D too, right? So I think he's a right D, is he? Yeah, he's a right D. So, yeah, all that makes sense. I think you're going to see Ottawa do some shit, and I don't think it's going to be too far off from what we just said. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that's what they did. But I think Carlson goes to Tampa Bay. I don't mind the deal for Toronto. I'm just really interested to see what they do after this. If they trade Knies for the package we're talking about, that's a few young players to add to the talent they already have, and I doubt they're done. I'm pretty sure they'll be looking at free agency to build around that. And maybe even put up a playoff caliber team. It's possible. I think this year Toronto is one of the most interesting teams out of everybody out there to see exactly. I can't see them rebuilding. They don't have a first next year. They don't have a first next year. Let's see if I can get any other rumors up here before I go. No. What other stuff happened today? Oh, that's what I was going to do. Pro hockey rumors. So slow. Okay. Sabres are nearing extension with Benson. I imagine that's going to be 8.5, or 8, something like that. Jonathan Toews retires. Love the guy. I gave it a shot for 1 year, but he didn't really look all that good. Radko Gudas generating interest in the market. I imagine he will. I think that injury is going to hurt him, though. He really did fall down bad. You really got to know where his injuries are going to take him now. But at one time, he was a great shutdown guy. But I think that's my full 42, boys and girls. That's all I got to give. I thought Rico was going to come on, and I thought Larry was going to come on, but it doesn't look like that has happened. Let's see, Larry. Nope. All right. Thanks for coming in, everybody, and listening. I'll probably be on tomorrow night. Hopefully have everybody else on so we can get more conversation going. Talk to you next time on Rico and Pearlo's House of NHL.